2015. I'm just seeing all these gadgets here and I'm saying to myself, should I trust them, especially after what I exposed? I don't know whether what we say you think is really right, what we say, or you decide to choose what to write. I suppose today's press conference will be able to think, expose that are they serving the real purpose, or they are serving an agenda which is not what you should do as journalists, is to inform people accurately and hear both sides of the stories. But I want to discuss on my first statement today. The topic is return to Zanu PF, ? And the ZIFA president's candidacy. It is with great concern that I noted in the Herald of Saturday, 7th November 2015, the headline, Temba comes to town, Temba wants to come home. Whilst it is true that I conducted an interview with Tichona Sinoga on Tuesday, the 3rd of November 2015, despite my good intentions to give the state-owned media, who I have generally refrained from entertaining due to what I perceive as an imbalanced viewpoint. The benefit of the doubt, my previous reservations once again proved to be founded. The interview was once again taken out of context and only excerpts to create a false impression were published. Here we go again. Where are the ethics that bind journalists to report accurately, honestly, balanced, and factual? It seems the ugly head of twisting and misquoting ways to create a sensational story continues unabated. I would like to make it categorically clear that at no point did I clamor or beg to be readmitted into Zanu PF party. Rather, mine was an impassioned plea against the injustice of the system that claims to be procedural and constitutional. The emotions expressed are emotions that I experienced at the time when my dismissal was very raw and I could not pretend the unfairness and injustice of it all. I'm human, I live and breathe the Zanu PF, and it was my passion at that time. However, it is only often when you're removed from a situation or an environment and stand against the very force that you so passionately believed in, that you are genuinely exposed to the other ugly side that had never been part of your mantra. And so I experienced just that as an independent candidate who ran for Lunga West by-elections seat. The violence that I came face to face with during the campaign and the election period were more than enough to convince me that Zanu PF was no longer the party I joined as a young man, and therefore not a party I can ever associate myself with in its current state. Furthermore, there's the factionalism that saw my ouster is currently rifer than it has ever been. Why then would I, in all honesty, step out of the frying pan into the fire and subject myself to inevitable paging? I would be subjected to seeing that I've already seemingly been branded as belonging to a certain faction within the current party. So how would you honestly, in your normal senses, join a party that is factional, and already before you join it, you belong to a certain faction? It defies logic even to the saddest of minds. Not only that, but the findings submitted by the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission in their report on the situation on the ground in Lunga West before and after elections compound my resolve that Zanu PF is not a party I wish to be associated with going forward. Since my unprocedural expulsion, and I maintain that it was unprocedural and unconstitutional. I had the time to sit back and reflect, and the emotions I had then no longer resonate with Temba Mliswa of today. The letter of appeal referred to by Tichona, which he meticulously chose to omit when it was written, was dated the 10th of November 2014. Almost exactly a year ago, and contrary to Comrade SK's most recent remarks that I should follow procedure if I wanted to be readmitted, was actually the procedural manner to follow upon receiving news of the dismissal. What is interesting to note is that a year later, I finally had an unofficial response from him, to that letter via the media. And I've never had my letter of appeal officially replied or attended to. As the chairman of the party at the time and the head of the disciplinary committee, the onus was on him to ensure that the party was brought to order. Oh well, I suppose the response is coming a year too late, as too much has happened in between for me to even contemplate following the route. It's no secret that he was a victim of Hurricane Grace, and he was probably part of the people that were taken by the hurricane. And I suppose right now he has landed, and he's now trying to get back to his office. And the best I can say to him is to go back to his file of national chairman and see the letters that were written now that Hurricane Grace first is done before Hurricane Grace 2 also comes through. So I think he has a bit of time between now and then to go back and do things which are procedural. And what is procedural of him is to respond to the letter that I wrote him, having to question which I'll avail a copy to. My appeal against the judgment to relieve me of my position as chairman for Mliswa West. And I wrote this, I copied the very same letter to the Secretary for Administration, Comrade Mtasa, to the Political Commissar, Webster Shamu, to the Secretary for Security, Senior Secretary, and Information Publicity, Rugare Gumbo. And I'm still waiting for his response. In terms of procedure that he's talking about, I even went on the 23rd of February 2015. This was the second letter that I wrote to the chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee, Honorable Vice President Poko. Letter of appeal against expulsion as a member of Zanu PF. That's how procedural and meticulous I am in putting things together. I equally copied the same letter, and I went on, if you see this letter, to challenge the way they'd gone about it. I copied it to the president, I copied it to the vice president, Nangago, I copied it to the secretary for administration, Ignatius Jombo, to the political commissar, Kasukwere. So these are two letters written, and here he is surely through the media saying I must follow procedure. What procedure would one follow? Okay, after writing letters, one on my suspension, and I'm probably the only person who on record wrote those letters, because I knew one day they would talk about that no one ever wrote to us. And I'm still with those letters supposed to appear before a disciplinary committee, and I've never. But I don't think with the expulsion that happened, I mean, they would call for such. But as a party that boosts to the constitutional, a party that boosts to follow the mandate of the people, it is only proper that the processes are followed. And I think, I don't know, like I say, if at all, now that is information secretary for the party, whether he still wants me to still write to him, but I think those letters deserve a response. My gripe has always been in the manner in which the pages were conducted. The ZANU-PF Constitution clearly outlines the procedure required in order to dismiss a member. However, amazingly enough, despite the disciplinary committees being appointed and announced, actually no hearings to me, that is tantamount to not giving one the chance to prove their innocence, although saying I was never proven guilty, as the old, good as age-old adage goes, I most certainly must be innocent. ZANU-PF had the opportunity to consolidate the resounding victory 2013. However, instead of concentrating on the strategies to work on the economy, on the ailing economy, focus was misplaced towards dividing the party and carrying out pages. And look where we are today. How has this helped the ordinary man in the street? People always talk about ZANU because it is the ruling party, it is the government of the day. And in being the ruling party and the government of the day, certainly people will cry to you and say, but fix the situation. And the economy has not been a priority for them, rather than the current pages, once again, that are happening. But I must say that I think Hurricane Grace 2 is facing some resistance. I'm sure it's some clever weather clouding which is happening. The Manicaland issue, the Marsh East issue, certainly is certainly helping it not to take off. Whether it will take off again is something else. It seems that even though I am not a member of the party, the attacks continue. Tichaona, by all means, continue with the job you are doing. But my plea to you is that you do not create stories just to sell the paper on a Saturday morning when sales are probably struggling. But you report in an honest, accurate, and factual manner, just as simple and as basically as you were taught in media school. I'm sure that's what you were taught in media school. For ease of reference, I've printed out a transcript of the interview so that after hearing my side of the story and viewing the interview in its entirety, you may see for yourself the depths of the law, the exclusions have created. I may have been more balance taken on the story. My attention are now focused squarely on YAD, Youth Advocacy for Reform and Democracy. With my experiences both as a member of parliament and more recently as an independent candidate outside Zanu PF, I feel that I have the outlook that can take the partisan and our political viewpoint in educating the youth to be more active when it comes to shaping their future and their destiny. Equally on the ZIFA, I think I've been very clear. A lot was said about me wanting to be president of ZIFA, and it's said that the people that the president appoints to administer sport don't understand sport. So for as long as they don't understand sport, it will be very difficult for one to get professionals to run sport. The same way the president appoints a lawyer to be the Minister of Justice and appoints a doctor to be the Minister of Health, sport has also got practitioners who are qualified to do sport, who should run sport. And for as long as there is no national policy which we can measure ourselves against, there is no point of going into sport. Because clearly when the national team fails, the national policy should be the measure which then tells you how you have failed. Up to date, we don't have a national policy in sport. So if we don't have a national policy, anybody who is qualified to run sport would never be part of this circus that is happening and so forth. And I think the minister should, in consultation with ZIFA, and has an act through the Sports and Recreation Committee that allows him to set up an interim committee that can foresee the running of sport, of football. And that interim committee can be mandated, ensuring that the debt that is owed is cleared. Because whoever is coming in right now is going to be swamped with that date. And there's no ways, if you're serious about football, you would really come up with a program to take football forward without you dealing with the debt which is there. So quite clearly, the councillors themselves are not really qualified. They're the very same people that endorse Casper do it, but it's removing another cash bait to also replace another cash bait. So just the other day they were saying, no, we will stick to the rules of football and so forth. So generally, if you also look at the structure, the councillors themselves, how many of them understand football administration? How many of them understand sports administration? There's not much. You have a situation where the chairman of a province endorses a candidate, and you ask yourself, was there a meeting which you had the agenda to endorse Philip Chiangwa as your candidate, or you're doing this in your own personal capacity? Because quite clearly, that differs. Personal capacity and you representing a province are two different things. So they'd already gone to really endorse him. And the question that I would ask the Minister of Sport would then to say, okay, he's been endorsed. Can I see the minutes of the meeting that he endorsed him, or is individual? If it is even individual, it clearly points out to vote buying, to corruption, and so forth, which before you even go anywhere, the elections are mad with a lot of controversy and so forth. So quite clearly, that to me is imperative. And for as long as government itself does not become the major shareholder in the development of sport, in putting money into football and so forth, I don't think football or sport will get anywhere. Government must itself be prepared to put in a lot of money. I was the chairman for the portfolio committee on education, sports, arts, and culture, and the 10 million that they get, the square goes to the operational of the ministry. There's no money that even goes into sports administration. And the tax incentives, which we're pushing for companies to put money into sport, nothing has ever happened. So really, we are just a social sporting nation rather than a professional sporting nation. So really, no wonder why Philip will certainly, if he wins the ZIFA, is from a social point of view, not from a professional point of view. And we can never be viewed seriously as a country. We must be able to differentiate professionalism and also social sport. I think to me, yes, let us accept. And I think let's not get the hopes of the Zimbabwean people high by saying we love sport when we don't devote as much money as professional people to equally run sport. So that's my take really, and I think more is something that I think if the minister is serious about addressing sport, this is where he must start from to ensure that no, there shall be no elections. There will be an interim committee for 2 years, because which chairman will change anything in 2 years? No chairman will change anything in 2 years. And he has that right through the Sports and Recreation Act to have an interim committee to run sport. And an interim committee must consist of professional people, the Benjani Warriors of this world, Peter and Locals of this world. They are there, they are brand, they're the name, they are passionate about sport. Look at in South Africa, who's coaching, who's involved in sport. It's the very same people that made the sport be what it is. And with that, you also have to recognize them, So I think it's something that, like I said, I needed to more or less discuss. I'll go to the issue of today. I've got a transcript that I have. I equally have the story that he wrote. I will give this to you. Certainly, on the interview, the first part he missed out when he asked me, and I think I will then get somebody to also play that. And then we go to the next bit. He left out this again. He left out quite a lot, but I'll go to the real issues. I think we go to his story now, where I talk about here, where he asked me, he says to me, just to hold you there, my impression from what you have just said and from earlier sentiments in other publications is that you remain ZANU-PF, or a huge part of you remains ZANU-PF. Would you readily say, if you were offered some olive branch, this is him, you have exhausted all means to unite people and goes forth. And then I tell him yes, he reads it, and then the part where he says yes, there are a lot of young people who got in. You see, like Makosini from Wani, myself, Anastasia, and even could the Chipangas of this world. He stops, but then I then continue, which I will then show you where he then decided to leave it. These are young people, and you could see that the party was going somewhere, and the way we did our politics is different. It goes with what is expected, and I don't believe in violence. I took an MDC constituency, okay, to give it to the party, so that the president is the president, because of the programs I initiated. So the by-elections, and I'm answering your question, the by-elections in Rungwe West and the negative report from the Human Rights Commission, which point out to violence and intimidation, don't resonate with me principally, because I don't believe that's the way ZANU-PF should go. They don't resonate with me principally because I don't believe that is the way ZANU PF should go. Violence. It's people like us who said no to violence must not happen in the party. And the president was against violence. So why continue being violent? I saw ZANU PF people fighting amongst themselves, you know, which was not proper because people always believed in me. Listen, Temba has done nothing wrong. It's your issue at the top, not here. Because you cannot get 4,200 votes without campaigning and think that people did not know what they wanted. These were ZANU PF people. So for me, the aspect of violence certainly puts a bleak future for me with any political party. Guys, you're a journalist. What does bleak mean with any political party? And then you go and write headlines that I want to come back to ZANU PF. And I'm denouncing violence, and here we will play it again. So clearly, even yourselves are ashamed as journalists. Is this how we're going to conduct ourselves? What about if I had that thing recorded? That's why I said I'd never like suing you. I've said this several times sitting here, right accurately. So how can you say I want to go back to a party which I've said any party that is violent has a bleak future for me to be part of? So how, honestly? And because you know that ZANU PF won 2/3, and that was consolidation, and all they had to do was to consolidate. And then we also go to another one. Joe, can you play that one? Even at cell level, because they are not able to represent themselves in the Population Bureau. When an issue of Temba comes up, and they say Temba is being suspended, can be suspended and exposed. Who will give you all this? You have so many stories to write. In their making, like a company, they believe that Temba would come on site. They took into understanding, you know, their country and playing a part. But it's a good question in that, but you said under the radar. But I'm also patriotic, and there's also welcome stupid. These concepts actually really gone down down the radar, under the radar, and what's actually because quite clearly is related. I used to all my arrest. People are looking forward to an elective Congress, and this is the direction. Why can't a commission of inquiry be set up to then investigate? They were sitting, I wrote a letter, people said I can suspect that he didn't stand the test. But if it is also found and investigated, and the investigation comes out that they were innocent, a reconciliation is done. We're not saying I must go back as a provincial chairman, but the party would have exhausted all means to unite people. So can you find it? Okay, she's gonna find it. Anyway. And I fought so that blacks play a part. So what gender, even the Japandas of this world, and so forth. These were young people. You could say that the party is going somewhere. And the way we do our politics is different. It goes with what is expected. And I don't believe in violence. I took an MGC constituency, okay, to give it to the party so that the president is the president because of the programs I initiated. So the by-elections, and I'm answering this, the by-elections in the rural West, and the negative report from the Human Rights Commission, which point out to violence and intimidation, don't resonate with me principally because I believe that's not the way that ZANU PF should go. It's people like us who say no, violence must not happen in the party, and the president was against violence. So why then continue being violent? I saw ZANU PF people fighting amongst themselves, you know, which was not proper because people who always believe that this Temba has done nothing wrong. It's your issue at the top. But here, because you cannot get 4,200 votes without campaigning,
and think that people did not know what they wanted. They were ZANU-PF people. So for me, the aspect of violence certainly puts an open future for me with any political party, because ZANU-PF won 2/3.
That's one. So it's quite disturbing to be honest with you, in that so he decided not to include that, and for certainly the agendas that he had are equally dealt with the issue on when he said, okay, you also missed it out, and you say that you're a victim of circumstances. And I say, yes, I respond. A true victim, I'm prepared to go before any meeting today, and I'm prepared to be judged fairly and told that Mliswa did this, and I'm very outspoken, but the party also allows people to express their views and so forth. But I've been outspoken because I demanded from the people, whatever I did was meant for me. So your question really, that's me, your question really, at the end of the day, is, the center of power is the president. And right now, with the way the party is, the fighting, I would rather the fighting stop, because immediately when I come in, already I'm said to be Mnangagwa person. And so as soon as I go in, I hear there is a G40, and the G40 will go for me before I even make a step. So if there is stability in a home, you come back home. But where there is no stability, why would you come back home? So that's another one. But still, he had to say that I was prepared to join the party. And I'm saying, but this is recorded, it's there, and so forth. And you then wonder that what is the agenda? And you equally have the national spokesperson of the party responding to that. And you're saying there's probably an agenda in that they probably realize what they did is wrong, and let's probably start with Mliswa. As usually, it always starts with me. Suspension as a provincial chairman is with me. So let's probably start with him, see how he reacts. He's probably quiet about this, find ways of bringing others back, which quite clearly would be the best thing for them to do. But how do we start it? It's very difficult for a ruling party to admit it's wrong, but they will always try and find an entry period, and that's how I see it. And I think I'm very clear of the things that I need to also achieve. I think it's equally important that when you equally have sight of this, which we have gone through, we also give you the recording to be able to really then understand exactly what the motive was, and probably would more or less like to correct it. I'm very human. I'm saying to myself, this is a strong case to go before any judge and compel the herald to write question and answer as it is. I'm kind, but we won't even do it. I won't even do it, It just doesn't do the publication, it doesn't do the industry good, it doesn't do anybody good, because people are reading what's not proper, and I am now leading YAD, and equally you want to create unnecessary confusion. Unfortunately, YAD has got boys who are pretty smart, and they read between the lines, they know where this is going and so forth. But it's important to just correct and say no. You journalists who have to more or less correct each other. I thought I would share this to you. As much as I understand this report may not have been published word for word, why leave out sections that change the meaning and the whole essence of the interview? That's what I ask myself. That's really what I ask myself. So I'm very clear. What I've said has been very clear. It is the first time that I spoke about the party at the time that I was in the party, and he wanted to understand that. And I see it as an agenda setting for others. It always starts with Temba. If Temba is coming back, why don't you all come back? because the house is on fire. You see, and it's just agenda setting, which is really sad. You know, and I think the party is big enough to sit down at its meetings and tackle main issues in a manner which is professional, which also leaves it with integrity and dignity. This certainly does not leave it with anything, especially the response of the national spokesperson saying that they must follow procedure. After 2 letters were written, they've not been responded to, and he decides to respond after an article. He does not respond to my letter, he responds to the article. And you wonder, is this the agenda of the party? I think in a way, that's really what I wanted to more or less clarify with you, that it speaks for itself. The thing that will give you the transcript, will give you the thing, and are there any questions? Yes.
Yeah, Temba, the last time we used to work with Jimmy Kunaka in this project we had, but it seems you've fallen out against each other. What is the reason?
No, we have not fallen out with Jim. I think everybody has the right to join an organization that they believe will serve them right and so forth. Jim came to us on his own. He said that he had joined us. We have not signed anything. Anybody who's a member of YARD signs documents to say they're a member of YARD and so forth. You sign acceptance letters. You're given the constitution, the objectives, and also a kind of secrecy document which does not even allow you to go as far as calling for a press conference and talking. So Jim came to us. He wanted to work with us because he saw YARD as a vehicle that would advance the youth, and with his background of being in the forefront of violence, we had no reason not to accommodate him, because he wanted to preach non-violence to the youth, which is what it is. You know, they say you set a thief to catch a thief. And at times you need somebody who has a perpetrator of violence to go and preach to the people not to be violent. So we saw him useful in that regard, you know, in terms of then we still see him useful in that regard, because we feel that he's the best person to preach non-violence to the people after him having led a non-violence entity. So, you know, people differ. He's welcome. YARD accommodates everyone, and we still believe that we will still be with Jim to still preach the good gospel to the youth, not to be violent and not to be used when it's time for elections, but to respect the will of any individual and so forth. So he will be useful at some point. Right now, of course, he has a party that he belongs to, and we meet and so forth. So at times you need to forgive this young man. The economy is tough, you know, and they're probably given things to read which they've not written, which they cannot read. But we understand the situation about it. He's a nice guy, Jim. You know, he's a nice guy, and I'm glad we even encourage him to go to and seek God. That's why he's now with Macandio and so forth. So he's undergoing some rehabilitation, because when you've been involved in violence, you know, when you've been involved in violence, you know, you've beaten people up. These are some of the demonic spirits that follow you. So you have to take them and get them done. So at the right time, when he's fully rehabilitated, but before he's rehabilitated, you can just expect anything. So, you know, so I suppose, you know, he's, like I say, I like Jim. He will certainly be one of us. We want him to be the ambassador for anti-violence. And he will be, but the time will come when he's fully rehabilitated. Yes.
Okay, Tim. You mentioned that in case that we had waited for a disciplinary hearing from ZANU-PF for the party. So in case maybe ZANU-PF repents and they call you for a disciplinary hearing for the issues that they failed you for, maybe, and also if there is stability after that disciplinary hearing and you win the case, would you consider joining the party again? Maybe if it's reunited and we have the pre-Congress ZANU-PF kind of a scenario, would you consider going back to ZANU-PF under such circumstances? If they follow the procedures and they bring you back to it?
No, I've told you that I'm not really interested in joining any political party. I've been very consistent. I've said this before. I'm one person who's driven by passion and who does things all the way. That's me, to be honest with you. And with what I saw in the political parties, I believe in things being done properly, being fair, because you are pushing for the way you think run things and the way you hope that you would also be running a country. But when you are unprocedural and unconstitutional, the way you go about things, certainly, no, I have no intentions of joining any party at all. But I want to assist the parties in making sure that when they go for elections, the youths participate from their parties and so forth. They're well educated, they understand electoral reforms, and also what belongs to their youth also becomes that of the youth. So I wouldn't join ZANU-PF. I'm getting old. I'm one of those people who wants to also retire from politics when I'm probably 50. So that's the reason why I'm now trying to assist the youth, because I can see that I also had projections when I was a politician that yes, when I'm in as a politician, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. And at this point in time, I stop. I'm not like others who go on. At 50, I must stop. I must be part of the Council of Elders, where these young people come and talk to us. So you know that that's something I'll tell you. At 50 years old, I must be a Council of Elders, where these young people come and talk to us. Can we have one more question? Yes.
Okay, I think I've heard you referring to the festival like this hurricane, kind of. I want to get your views, having worked with ZANU-PF and also you've been mentioning of the factionalism. Do you see the festival playing a pivotal role in making sure that Zimbabwe achieves the democracy? I think as yet, one of your objectives to see democracy. I mean, and also to sort of like fight against violence. Do you see, how much do you see the role?
No, we fight against violence. I think the first lady belongs to things ZANU-PF. She's under the constitution of ZANU-PF, and she does things on the mandate of ZANU-PF. But what we are into as yet is from a national governance point of view. And she's the Secretary for Women's Affairs for ZANU-PF. We don't step into there. We look at the objectives of government, policy formulation in terms of the youth, how involved are they, and so forth. So I would not want to comment on her role within ZANU-PF, the mandate given to her within ZANU-PF. Yes.
Again, Mr. Mliswa, would you consider to stand for an election where it is an independent to raise a part of the grand coalition?
No, what I've always said is that the playing field must be even. It's not there. That's why I'm grateful that I'm not a member of parliament, because quite clear, what are you really representing? Are you truly a people's leader, or you've come about a leader because of electoral malpractice? And if you've come about as a leader because of that, how do you call yourself a leader? So we need to have an even playing field in terms of aligning ourselves to electoral reforms and equally seeing the young people being involved. 60 to 70% of the population is youthful. But in terms of the leadership, it does not reflect of that. They have been pushing power brokers, but it's about time they equally became power brokers from all sectors of the party. What we want to have youth who go back to the parties and say, I wanted them to be a candidate. As a councillor, I was an MP. So these are some of the things that we have to also advocate for. I think there are no more questions. Thank you very much.
Sorry, as I said in the beginning, those that want a copy of the transcript, either by email